Welcome to Chapter 7, Input and Output Functions. Up until now, our programs have used hard-coded data. However, real-world applications need to interact with users or external systems. Input and output functions are the way our program communicates with the outside world. 1. What is output? Output is the data generated by the program that is delivered to the user or an external destination, such as a monitor, printer, or file. In Python, the most fundamental output function is the print function. 2. What is input? Input is the data received by the program from the user or an external source, typically through a keyboard, a mouse, or a file. The primary function for receiving keyboard input in Python is the input function. 3. The standard I/O streams. These I/O functions rely on three standard streams inherited from the operating system: standard input, typically the keyboard; standard output, typically the screen or console; and standard error, which is used for error messages and is also typically displayed on the screen. Understanding these two core mechanisms, input and output, is vital for building interactive programs. In the next few lectures, we will look at each function. First, we will go to output. Join me in Lecture 0702. Print. Welcome back. The print function is the most common way to generate output in Python. It takes 0 or more expressions, converts them to text, and writes them to a stream, usually the console. 1. Printing multiple objects. You can pass multiple objects separated by commas to the print function. By default, it automatically separates these objects with a single space. 2. The sep parameter. The optional sep parameter stands for separator. It allows you to specify a custom string that will be inserted between the objects being printed, instead of the default space. 3. The end parameter. By default, the print function adds a new line character, \n, at the end of the output. The end parameter allows you to replace this new line with any other string, which is useful for printing things on a single line. Notice how loading and complete appear on the same line because we set end to an empty string in the first print call. To summarize, the print function is highly flexible. Master the sep and end parameters to control the formatting of your output precisely. Controlling the output text may be done alongside string formatting. Our next lecture 0703. Print and string formatting. Welcome back. When using the print function, you may need to embed the values of variables directly into a descriptive string. This is where string formatting comes in. While Python has several methods, we will focus on the modern and highly recommended approach, f-strings. 1. The f-string method. Introduced in Python 3.6, f-strings, or formatted string literals, are prefixed with the letter f. They allow you to place variable names or even full expressions directly inside curly braces within the string. 2. Formatting data types. F-strings also allow fine-grained control over how variables are displayed, especially useful for numbers. You use a colon followed by a format specifier inside the curly braces. To control the number of decimal places for a float, use a period followed by the desired precision, and then the letter F. You can easily format numbers as percentages by multiplying by 100 and using the %sign format specifier. To summarize, you may use f-strings for clear, readable, and efficient string formatting in modern Python. They simplify embedding variables and allow precise control over data representation. We have learned generating output. Now, let us turn to input. Our next lecture 0704. Input. Welcome back. While the print function sends information out, the input function is responsible for bringing data into the program. It pauses the program execution, waits for the user to type something and press enter, and then returns the data. 1. Basic input and prompt. The input function takes one optional argument, the prompt string. This string is displayed to the user before the program pauses, telling the user what to enter. 2. Crucial concept, string return type. This is a single important rule. The input function always returns data as a string, regardless of what the user types. If the user types a number, it is still stored as a string. 3. Typecasting. If you intend to use the input for arithmetic operations, you must explicitly convert the returned string to a numeric type, like an integer or float, using typecasting functions. To summarize, the input function is our connection to the user, but remember its output is strictly a string. Always apply typecasting if you need to treat the user's input as a number. We have learned how to take a single input. Our next lecture, 0705. Reading multiple inputs. Welcome back. While reading one input at a time is simple, it is often inefficient if you need many variables. This lecture shows you standard Python techniques for reading multiple values, separated by spaces or commas, from a single line of user input. 1. Using input and split. The core technique involves two steps. First, use the input function to read the entire line as a single string. Second, use the string's split method. By default, split breaks the string into a list of substrings wherever it finds white space. We can then assign these list elements directly to multiple variables in one line. 2. Converting types using map. Since split returns strings, we still need type conversion for numbers. Using a separate conversion line for each variable is repetitive. Instead, we use the map function, which applies a function like int to every item in the list returned by split. This single line is a way to read multiple numbers from one line of input. To summarize, combining input, split, and map is the most effective method for handling multiple inputs simultaneously, especially when those inputs need to be converted to numerical types. We now have the tools for input and output. Our next lecture, 0706. Grocery Checkout System. Welcome to our final use case for the input and output section, building a simple grocery checkout system. We will use the input function to receive data, typecasting and arithmetic operators for calculation, and print, with F strings for clear output. 1. Define prices and get input. We start by setting fixed prices for 2 items. Then, we use the efficient map function to read 2 quantities from the user on a single line, converting them immediately to integers. 2. Perform calculations. We calculate the subtotal using multiplication and addition. We also define a tax rate and apply it to find the final total cost using multiplication. 3. Handle payment and change. We ask the user how much money they are paying, ensuring we convert the input to a float, and then use subtraction to calculate the change. 'To summarize, this simple system demonstrates the synergy between reading user input, performing calculations with operators, and presenting clear results using F-string formatting. This is the foundation of almost every practical program. Congratulations! This concludes our chapter on input and output. We now begin Section 8, More Programs 1. Our next lecture 0801. Read and display student details.